Thanks everybody for joining this session of The Bottom Line at TTG. I'm here today with Mal, and we're actually face to face, and we're going to talk about being face to face and moving forward with events. So Mal, let's talk a little bit about why do companies go to shows, and how does that contextually become even more relevant now as we're coming out of COVID, and you just came back from a couple of trade shows recently.
Just came back from a few shows and they were wildly successful. Everyone is really excited about being back face to face. And I think it kind of reminds us all why we go to events in the first place. Obviously we go to build relationships or reinforce relationships. And you also introduce new products at events to kick them off. But the main reason people go to shows is trade shows are the lowest cost of acquisition of anything you can do. Studies show that a typical sales interaction, sales guy on the phones, smiling and dialing, it's about $980 to acquire a lead. At a trade show, that goes all the way down to $96. So it's a really unusual place when you consider that you have all these people who are part of your target audience that you can meet with in a single day.
And I remember you theorizing back when we were in the middle of COVID, that when shows would come back, that the attendees who were going would be highly motivated, and it would actually be a better attendee. Are you finding that? I mean, are the people
absolutely,
saying that?
Absolutely. In fact, the show I was at most recently, it almost was back to pre-COVID. It was almost normal. But the shows that I had been to prior to this last week, people had masks on, so the aisles were wider and so forth. But everyone to a man said it was a much higher quality attendee, because I think those folks who are willing to get on a plane and risk, if you will, contracting COVID, are really serious buyers.
Now, I think a lot of people who are getting back into trade shows, and they're maybe they're dealing with a reduced team, and they're sort of tepid about rushing back into the trade show space. I can imagine a lot of people are just going to go into it somewhat half-heartedly and maybe use the same booth they used over the last 2 years. What is the argument against that? What's the argument that they should go all in?
Yeah, Mike, I think it's a fresh start. And to me, a fresh start kind of implies that you would go in very differently than even maybe you have before, so that people can see you in a new light. And it's a great opportunity to do that. Everyone's back, it's fresh, it's exciting. I think it's a great time to try something new.
And if you're going to the show specifically to drive leads, you've had a drought of leads over the last year and a half, and now you're going back, what other things should people be thinking about doing to support that goal of driving leads?
Yeah, I think a lot of it starts pre-show. And I think now if you can get a copy of the list, even if it's a past year's list of people who attended that show, and do some pre-show marketing to drive traffic to that exhibit, maybe have a strategic giveaway that is not just like a koozie, but kind of a cool giveaway to your top 20 or 30 customers, be a great way to make sure you drive them to your exhibit.
Great. And what about the client who says, we really aren't there to drive leads, we're an industry leader and we just got to be there, but we want to have we want to make sure that people know we're a leader in the industry. What do you say to them in terms of how to support?
Sure. I mean, make an impression, for one thing. Really go in where people notice you and really get a sense that you are a leader in the market. But Mike, in addition, just being there face to face. I mean, let's face it, we're all sick of Zoom calls. Being able to look your customer in the eye and have a conversation is infinitely different than sitting on a Zoom call.
Well, and what do you think about the idea too of, a lot of times in the past, the salespeople didn't really want to support going to the trade shows, that hem and haw about it. But don't you think now that it's an opportunity to use it as a reward and to get people psyched about?
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of people will be really fired up to go to Las Vegas after 2 years on the sidelines. So yeah, if you have a team that you really feel you could leverage the opportunity of going to an event, obviously it's really important as exhibit managers that you get the most out of the team once they get there. You don't want them being hungover on the show floor, but certainly to get people to go, get them fired up, and the opportunity to meet face-to-face with their clients, I think is huge.
So Mal, virtual was, what was the thing, and so many exhibit companies were really trying to focus on selling virtual exhibiting. How did it do in your opinion?
You know, it's good and bad. It's a mixed bag. I think if you ask most customers, they would say, we can't wait to get back to live events because it just wasn't the same. But having said that, people do feel like it's opened up a whole new market for them in some cases. Not everybody goes to the shows. So the combination of the two, I think going forward is going to be great.
Great. So what's the bottom line?
Well, the bottom line is, you know, we go to shows because they work. You know, and they have for so long. And I think, you know, a lot of people were saying, I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, man, this is going to put trade shows out of business. It did the exact opposite. It's made it, people realize more than ever that we need to be able to meet face to face. I do think digital is going to be a phenomenal addition to face-to-face meetings. There's no substitute for getting back to live events. So it's really exciting, and I'm excited for all our customers to get out there and start working the shows.
Awesome. Everybody, thanks for joining us on this session of The Bottom Line at TTG, and we'll see you again soon.
You look like you're drinking a beer.
I am looking at it.